All right. So I'm Jen Lotze. I work at IT Audit Labs out of St. Paul, Minnesota, and yeah, I just get to go in and help people to be more cyber secure, mostly companies and government entities, cities, counties, whatever, and try to make it fun while we do it because cybersecurity doesn't have to be scary. I previously was the Minnesota State Cybersecurity Coordinator for SSA. And then before that, I was a school district technology leader and a special ed teacher before that. So my path to cybersecurity is a little bit topsy-turvy, but fun nonetheless. I'll pass it to you, Josh.
Thanks. My name is Joshua Schmidt. I do a lot of different things at IT Audit Labs, mostly podcast production, producing the podcast called The Audit, and then doing a little bit of help with Jen's new additional podcast, Sip Cyber. And then we also have videos and all sorts of fun stuff on our YouTube and our LinkedIn, and been doing some of that as well. So social media, a little bit of everything. So happy to be here today and excited to hear what Jen has got in store for us.
Sweet. All right. Well, why don't we just kind of get started? We'll just barrel through here. So today we're just talking about, this is episode 1 of 4. So make sure you get registered for all 4. The good news is that if you are registered, you get the recording sent to you automatically as well as the transcript. So we're talking about personal cybersecurity for all of these sessions. It's one thing for us to talk about cybersecurity within our jobs or within some of our professional organizations, but generally, like, I care a lot more about my personal cybersecurity and the safety of my friends and family. I love IT Audit Labs, but my friends and family are my primary concern for cybersecurity. So we're just going to talk through a couple things. We're going to start with the why. So why do we have to talk about this? Well, technology is the fastest evolving it's the fastest evolving thing in history. So if you look here, if you are just like me, when I was a younger lady, I would like save my money to buy the longest phone cord so I could just wrap it around the wall and go to another room so I could talk to my besties with like top secret information clearly that no one else can hear. And you can see the old Nokias are down there. And so it's just such a huge evolution that there's nothing that has evolved as quickly as technology. So we have to stay informed. And then just another example, right? Like I'm a product of the 80s. We learned at school and at home, don't get in cars with strangers, bad idea. Then we were told not to meet people on the internet, also not great. And then today we find people on the internet and we pay them to get into their cars. So it's just technology changes the rules. So those rules that are deeply ingrained in all of us become a little bit different as we talk about technology. All right, so why does this matter? Your personal information and your children's and your parents' personal information are of great value to our cyber actors, our threat actors. We'll call them threat actors, we'll call them hackers, generally just yucky individuals who want to make your life a little bit miserable or a lot of it miserable. The things that they are actively trying to do would be help kind of ruin your financial life, mess with your credit scores, even looking at your digital identity. We'll talk about that in session 4, just how you're viewed online. And so your goal is to really build a strong first line of defense. So each session, we're going to talk more and more about that first line of defense. Today, we're really strictly talking about devices and financial information. All right, so if you could, I think you all have the react button within your teams. If you could just tell us with a thumbs up if you have frozen your credit. So if you've frozen your credit, let us know. I see 1 thumbs up. Oh, I see 2. Yay, Eileen, nice job. Oh, gosh, you guys are amazing. I was sitting in a room, I was at a National Guard event, and I was presenting to a group of the smartest cyber friends I know. And I asked them in the room, and I would say it was about 60% of them said that they freeze their credit. When I asked them about freezing their kids' credit, those statistics drastically dropped, right? There were only a handful of hands, and I asked, like, who has kids? It was an overwhelming amount in the room. And then when I asked about their kids, there were very few hands. So when we talk about this, we want to freeze everyone's credit. Your child is born with a social security number, and because of that, they are born with perfect credit. We want to protect that credit until they're ready to use it, usually when they turn 16, 18, those types of things. So there are two things that you can do that are super important. All right. Number one, and this is my personal preference, a credit freeze. All right. So credit freeze is done by the three big bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Um, you call them all individually. We'll talk through that. But this is a legal right. Okay. So you have the legal ability to freeze your credit. When people talking about locking your credit, this is typically done through companies, right? You see those commercials. I don't know about you, but I see those commercials all the time on TV. Like, I thought I was doing everything right until I was hacked by so and so. Those types of services offer you the ability to lock your credit, but that doesn't mean that it's frozen, right? The most secure way that you can tackle locking your credit is through a freeze. Now, a lot of people think, well, why would I need to lock my credit? Why do I need to worry about my parents? Because these threat actors, we know that our information is out there for these threat actors. What they want to do is they want to open up credit cards in your name. They want to take out loans in your name. They might open up bank accounts, those types of things. So what we want to make sure is that people understand that those are big life events that people typically do very rarely in their lives. Okay, so when people get a little bit nervous and twitchy and they say, well, I use my credit all the time, the reality is that you don't, right? Like, these are big life events. You get that cabin or that boat. I mean, I hear some people do that. I'm not one of those, but some people do that. That's when you want to thaw that credit. And we'll talk about that in a second. All right. So how it works, and many of you have said that your credit's frozen. Uh, I think, and there's a lot of debate around this with my technical friends, I think it's fastest and easiest to just call the three major credit bureaus and just freeze your credit through their automated system. The cool thing is that if you do that, and let's say you go to buy a car and you totally forget about this crazy scenario and this crazy webinar, and they go to run your credit for that new car, um, they're going to be like, oh, hey, we can't run your credit. It's frozen. You're going to be like, darn it, Jen Lotze, why did you tell me to do this? It's fine. You just call those three branches and it's going to ask you, or organizations, and it's going to ask you, do you want to freeze your credit or thaw your credit? Well, you're going to thaw it, and it's going to ask you for how long. And then once that time ends, usually about 12 hours, once that ends, then that thaw goes, or that thaw goes away and your credit is frozen again. So it's a really nice system. I'll tell you, we set it up for my in-laws. Sometimes I call them the outlaws, but they are incredible. And it took me about 25 minutes to call all three bureaus for both of my outlaws. So it's really not bad. There is a fourth credit bureau that most people don't know about called a Novus. You can check that out in the podcast when you go online. So this is super important. If you hear nothing else today, hear this. This is critical to protecting yourself and your family. Now, we talk a lot about our kids. Like, I'm a former school district person. They're my jam. Taught middle school. Totally crazy experience. Our parents are also just as important here. I'll tell you, we've had incidents in my family, and I've heard of friends having incidents where their parent, because they aren't digital natives like maybe our younger generation, they trust, right? They get this call from the bank and the bank says something and it's not actually the bank calling them. We see these threat actors trying to pull out money in the increments of like $9,999 because there's like a $10,000 cap where you have to do some secondary notifications typically with banks if you're going to pull out $10,000 or more. So just something to consider, right? Most of our parents have paid off their houses, have great credit, so we want to protect that so then they don't get taken advantage of. All right, so this is the other part about your Social Security number. The Social Security Administration, so SSA, they have a website that you can go in and you can create an account. Now, this is an account that's going to tell you anything that is using your Social Security number or places that are putting into your Social Security information, all of that stuff, right? So it's going to show my job and it's going to show when I got a loan last time or things like that. This is really helpful to create. Now, I'll tell you, it's good to see that information. However, the best part of this is that you can see if someone is using your Social Security number in an illegitimate way. I knew someone who had an employee that worked for them, and this employee had done something with their Social Security number. It wasn't theirs, or they typed it in wrong. And lo and behold, because of that, the number that was entered was the person that owned that Social Security number was actually having their wages garnished due to child support and that type of thing. So this poor person who either mistyped or gave the wrong Social Security number is having their wages garnished without it really being their jam. So just to know, like, it gives you a ton of information. Create those accounts for everyone in your family. It's a good thing to have. They will make you do multi-factor authentication, so just get ready for that. We'll talk about it in a second. Everyone doing okay so far? Thumbs up, high five. Okay. All right. Now, this is when I start to really irritate. Thanks. Oh gosh, you guys are the best. This is when we really start to irritate people, is when we talk about passwords. And I understand that we have a lot of passwords, right? Like I think in my password manager, I probably have 600 different passwords. Uh, Not all of them I use regularly, but they're all in there. Um, let's say, and they're all unique. I've spent too much time trying to change all these passwords. Let's say that you use one password for work, right? It unlocks your work computer, it gets you into your Teams or your Google or whatever. And you use that other password for 3 other things, right? You might use it for my SSA.gov, or you might use it for Netflix or Disney or whatever it is that you use that same password for. What happens when you do that is a threat actor is going to get one password of yours, right? They're going to get that username and password. And it's like having a key to a house, right? So if I have one unique password and I have one key to one house, right? That key's just going to open up that house. Now, if I use the same password all across, that's like having multiple houses on my block all have the same key to unlock the house, right? So of course we don't want anyone breaking in, but we want to try to minimize that damage by having them just access that one account, that one house. We don't want them to be able to go from my Gmail to my yahoo.com account to my Netflix to my IT Audit Labs, right? So we want to try to mitigate that damage as they're traversing through our information. So I realize this is unpopular because it's really hard to do and it's typically a total pain. So what we're going to talk about is 2 things. Number 1, a strong password is we're leaning more now towards passphrases. So what we're getting from our technical friends is that you don't have to change your password a million times a year, but you do have to have a really, really strong password that is also backed up by multi-factor authentication. Having those 2 things really helps secure that password. But I recommend passphrases. And a passphrase that I like to think about is a story that is not on my Facebook, right? Or is not connected to me in any way, right? Something that's a memory between me and my husband or me and my family or whatever that might be. Now, my dad was all the things. And so all the time, I haven't used this for my password, just to be clear. This is not one I use. But he would always say, when we asked him how he was super sick, he would say, I'm just living the dream and I have no complaints. And so every time I think of him, I think of those words. So that would be a good passphrase. Now you'll notice that there are spaces, punctuation. You don't necessarily have to make it that password that you can't really understand because you have the 3 and the S and the $sign. Totally up to you. But if you look at that password at the bottom, I swear I am up to no good, would take 36 quintillion years to crack the passphrase, right? Those types of things just make it really, really complex. Now, here's the deal. You have to have different passwords for everything. The best and truthfully, like the only way to really do this is to have a password manager. Now, there's 2 good points to this. Number one, our smartphones, right? They have those password managers right on them. And you can't get into those password managers unless you have that MFA, whether it's your face, your fingerprint, a password, whatever that might be. So that's great. Now, the reason why I encourage a separate password manager, I always love a backup, right? Because let's say someone gets into my account and I can no longer access the password manager on my iPhone. That's a problem. So I also use LastPass, came out a long time ago. Other people use 1Password, Bitwarden. I actually just started moving my stuff to Aura, which is a really cool tool that I've started using, comes with VPN. If you listen to the podcast, you're going to hear about that. And it will just add those passwords as I sign into accounts. So it's nice to have that backup, and it communicates with my Google account or my iPhone and my Aura account. So it's nice because it does it all at the same time. You don't have to go into your password manager and type your username and type your password for everything and add the website. Nope, just go to that website. I'm a shoe person. I go to dsw.com. I see that my password is saved. I click sign in, and Aura just says, oh, hey, do you want to save this to your password manager? And I'm like, immediately yes. So just know that like it's not as complicated as it feels. The other reason why you want a password manager, and this is a little bit dark, so like I try to be like happy and excited all the time, but this is the number one reason why I think it's helpful. Well, number one, my husband always asks for the passwords for like all of our streaming services. Irritating. So I can share them with him through our password manager. Josh, I'm guessing that you might be the owner of the passwords. No. Oh, so you're the
I'm
irritating
always
one.
asking my wife too. I mean, yeah, I can relate.
So I can share my passwords through those password managers, and it's entirely secure, right? Like we don't want to text passwords. We don't want to email passwords. This is a secure way to pass them along. The most important part of this is built into these password managers is kind of an end of life situation. So if you've ever had a family member or friend that passes away and you're in charge of their estate, like there are so many passwords and so many accounts, and you are working desperately to try to get access to them, reset those. It's painful. So in my password manager, I have given access to my husband, and so there's like a time period where you work with the password manager company, and then that person who is your designated beneficiary of passwords will get access to everything. That time is stressful enough. You don't need passwords to be another problem on top of it. All right, that was dark and dreary.
I have
Yes,
something to
Josh.
add to that. Actually makes it easier on your loved ones because all your passwords are in one place. So
Yeah.
instead of going through a book with them all written down or trying to figure out, they're all right there.
Magic, witchcraft. All right. So this is just reinforcing that, right? So, oh, that's what I forgot too. So if you're creating a new account and you have a password manager, so let's say I'm going to I have every shoe store in my Rolodex, but let's say that there's a brand new shoe store and they have a great online platform and I need to create an account. Aura is going to pop up, or LastPass is going to pop up and it's going to say, hey, you're creating a new account. You don't have a password for this. Do you want us to put in a complex password? And I'm like, immediately, yes. I don't even know what my passwords are for most of my systems. Like, I don't know my Google password. I know my work password, but that's the only thing that I really use regularly. That's the benefit, right? That's how you have different keys to different houses, is by creating those individual passwords. You don't have to know it. It's easy. I can share it through whatever system if I want to. It's great. And Some of them are paid, some of them are free. Some of those more advanced settings like family sharing and stuff have a cost, but it's usually not really insane. So just do your research, find what works best for you. Of course, the internet is full of recommendations, or you can reach out and I'll happily talk you through it. Yeah, okay. So MFA, I get it. Everyone's heard about it. I'll tell you, when we tried to deploy it in the school district, we thought, and this was in like, I don't know, 2020, it was COVID times, super fun. When we first started talking about it, everyone's like, this is going to be a 6-month project. It's too much on people's plates. This is going to be catastrophic, all that stuff, right? That is easy to think, right? Because you're adding a layer of complexity to an already stressed out population. However, this is the best thing you can do to protect yourself. It's why that SSA.gov website forces you to have an MFA. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people use text messages to get a 6-digit code from whatever website it is. Well, I have some bad news about that. Our threat actors, because they're brilliant and they find ways to mess with our data all the time, are doing something called SIM swapping, coming up on the podcast. Oh, I'm so excited. And what they do is essentially they're going to call your cellular provider. So I use Verizon. So they're going to call Verizon. They're going to pretend that they're me. They're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. Like, my dog ran away. My phone is cracked. I can't do anything. I need to get in touch with my husband and the vet, but I don't have any of their numbers. And they're like panicked, right? They're creating that sense of urgency with your cell phone provider. And your cell phone provider is like, okay, like what? And you're going to say, that person's going to say, well, I have an old phone here. Can you just please help me transfer my number from my current phone to my old phone? And a lot of times they say yes without doing a lot. They'll ask you for your address, your birthday, your phone number, but not really anything that like really pushes them to make sure that this is actually real and happening. So what those threat actors do is they get that phone number moved onto their phone, and then they try to sign into your Google account, or then they try to sign into your yahoo.com or hotmail.com, whatever it is. And they get that text message and they can sign in because they now have your phone number and your access. So that's why if you have any of your sign-ins and multi-factor sending you that 6-digit code, you're going to want to go into your settings for that website and do something like an authenticator, which is just an app on your phone that does randomized codes. Google will allow you to print out 8-digit codes, so you can just use them on paper if you want. But just make sure that you're not getting those 6-digit codes. Sound good? Hate to be the bearer of bad news because it is the easiest way, but it doesn't work. SIM swapping, silly things. And just keep in mind that your biometrics, your face, your fingerprint are an example of MFA. I watch a lot of crime shows. They show like people like taking eyes and fingerprints. It's fine. Like this is your best option. All right. Now, what our threat actors are also doing is they are brute forcing, right? They're forcing all of these fake MFA requests to your text messages or to your email, and they just do it over and over and over again. And what they're counting on is for you to be irritated enough to just click OK. That's what they're looking to do. The second you do that, they're in and they are off to the races. Most of the time, people don't even know that there's a threat actor in their account. And then also, this is where those fake support calls come in. I can assure you that Microsoft is never, ever, ever going to call you. You already paid them. They have all your money. They don't care if you have a problem on your computer. They're very caring people, I'm sure, but they are not going to call you. No service provider will. Don't fall for that, okay? So if someone on the phone is saying, you need to download this window sharing or this program, nope, programs equal bad, all right? Unless it's someone that you know, right? Your cousin from across the country who's an IT person, sure, but gross. Programs, yucky. Programs cause chaos on machines. If that program's there, then it's like the wild, open, wondrous space. They can go anywhere they want. Good? Spooky. So there's that SIM swapping. We talked about it. Oh, but the cure for that, forgot. The cure for this is to call your cellular provider, and you can set a PIN or passcode on your account. So if someone calls and they say, "Hey, I'm in crisis, my dog ran away," blah blah blah, they're going to say, "Okay, well, can you give us your PIN or your passcode for your account, not your phone?" And if you don't have that, then you're kind of out of luck. There's really nothing that you can do to make changes to that account. Also important, if you're trying to work on your family member's cell phone, you might want to have that code somewhere, like in a password manager. Just saying. So again, set a PIN, call your cellular provider, add that PIN to your account. It's really just the account owner that needs to do that, and you're rocking and rolling and further protected. Okay, so financial fraud. We've talked a ton about how threat actors access your accounts. They're terrible people, they do bad things. You're going to want to have something where you can check your credit regularly. Now, I'll tell you, most banks will have like a little section in your online account that will let you check your credit, or they will tell you if your credit's gone up or down. You can also get a free credit report at freecreditreport.com. And the federal government, like the bureaus, will often give you one free. So just keep that in mind. You're always going to want to be checking your credit. If there's a drastic drop or increase, or there's a lot of inquiries on your credit, that messes with your score. So being regular about checking your credit score helps you stay ahead of it, right? I know it's really easy with our phones to just tap to pay, but definitely go into your bank accounts to check if there's some weird anomalies there. So your credit score is a great indicator, and your bank accounts and credit cards are a great indicator if something's wrong. Now, I'm just going to throw something else in here because, I like this stuff. Credit cards versus debit cards. Josh, you know the difference between protections on the two?
I have no idea.
I love this journey for us. So, number one, I totally put Josh on the spot, sorry. Number one, a debit card is like liquid cash, right? Like dollar bills all over the place. So, if someone gets your debit card and they use it, that cash is gone, totally gone. Most likely, you're not going to get it back. A credit card, however, is right, it's building credit on an account. So there are different protections in place from credit card fraud than there are with banks. And that's why you'll see, if you've ever been a victim to this type of financial fraud, it is so much more challenging to handle the banking side of things as opposed to the credit card side of things. So if you have young children who are going to be driving eventually, most people will start to give them a debit card, right? Like it has $200 in it so they can get gas or whatever. I would encourage you to get a super low limit credit card instead, because number one, it'll build their credit score. Number two, it has those protections in place. So like, I don't know about you, but when I was a teenager, I lost everything. No good. So it's nice to have that protection in place.
How do you feel about, just a quick question, how do you feel about
Yeah.
Credit Karma?
Here's the thing. I think that all of these different companies have their own set of like what they do well. If you kind of look through the offerings that they have, like it's a legit company, right? So like you can check that legitimacy. I always do a search for like whatever that company is and cyber incidents. So then I can see like, have they ever had a breach? Have they ever had a problem? Those types of things. Um, yeah, there's so much out there. Try and stick with some of the bigger ones because they typically know what they're doing. And just find what fits for you and your family. So let's pretend like it's that bad day. You get that breach notification. You get that letter in the mail. You get that email that says, oops, we think we might have given out your information. We're not sure, but here's some credit monitoring for free. Number one, if you get it in an email or you get it in a letter, don't panic, right? Like panic is exactly what a threat actor wants you to do. You're going to want to Google that website, right? So if it's Chase Bank, I'm going to type in chase.com, or I'm going to Google Chase Bank and I'm going to go to the legitimate website and I'm going to sign in. Because if they mail you something, typically it's going to be in your account mailbox, or you'll see a message at the top or something like that. If they have a phone number on it, again, just Google it, because you just never know what they put on those letters. Just call whatever phone number comes up in the Google machine, so then you know it's legitimate. It's always a great tactic. So if it's accurate and it's real, you need to change all of your passwords that are in line with that password that was breached. So if it's your Netflix password and you also use it for your Google and your work and whatever, you need to change all of those passwords. So make sure you do that. And then in the letter, they have to offer you credit monitoring. If there's any financial or personally identifiable information there's certain types of data where they have to offer this. Take all the credit monitoring you can get. Everyone has to offer it, particularly healthcare companies. They're the big ones. Take every credit monitoring offer that you can. Just confirm that it's legit before you put in any numbers. But it's just super helpful. And then freezing your credit also helps just with that peace of mind. So regardless of what happens, if you freeze your credit, like, it helps take some of that stress off of your brain. But monitoring wherever you can, take whatever credit monitoring they give you for free. All right, now this one is really irritating people, and I promise you we're almost done. If you looked at your telephone right now, your cell phone, I would say that there are a good amount of people who have like a little one on that little gear logo on their phone. And if you click on it, it'll say software update. Now, sometimes I have a tendency to, like with my family, like take their phones, and if I see it, like I'll update their software right then. So good news for you, if you're my friend. Maybe good news if you're not. I don't know. But software updates are not like they used to be. Do you remember when we had like Windows XP and then we moved to Windows whatever, Windows 7? I don't remember. And it was like this huge change. I couldn't find anything anymore. Everything was gone. It was in a different place. These types of security updates that come through, and they come through regularly, are just to close doors that are left open that threat actors have already exploited. So by doing those security updates that come to you pretty regularly, you're protecting yourself from vulnerabilities that have already been found and exploited typically. So just do those. Now, I'm a big fan of automatic updates. Just turn it on. You'll go into your settings, turn on automatic updates. It happens in the middle of the night, so you're not even bothered by it, and life is good. That's just your cell phones and your tablets and whatever. Don't forget about your computers. As a former technology leader for a school district or an organization, when you update your machine, I'm so much happier, because that means that those doors are not left open for those threat actors. A basic restart every night before you go home is going to help you, right? Because a restart's going to push those updates through and life will be good. So if you just get in the habit of every time when you're done for the day, you just do a restart, it kind of turns off your day and says, I'm good. I'm going to do that restart. I'm going to walk away and have a life. And it does those updates. So everyone can sleep better at night. It's a good thing. And restarting your machine is actually good for your machine as well. Okay. This is the why. Don't delay. If it comes out, just do it right away. And then we always talk about backups, particularly in like the professional field for companies. Backups are critical. So we talked about that with your passwords, making sure that you have another place where they live. If you have important data, like my pictures are probably my most important piece of data that I care about the most. I have those in at least 2 places that I just back them up, because I get so nervous about losing them. You can put them on 2 different types of media, right? If you have an external hard drive or those types of things, or 2 different websites, whatever you choose. And then at least 1 copy offsite, right? I put mine in my firebox because that's just, I know that if the house burns down, it'll stay in there. Tornado, not tornado proof, but close enough. And this is important because if a threat actor gets in and they say, you have to pay us 1 Bitcoin if because we've accessed your account, and we will give it back to you for 1 Bitcoin, there's 2 sides of the house. The FBI does not recommend that you pay a ransom. That's just their stance. It's your choice. But if you have solid backups and you have all that information, you might be better off just saying, well, I have my backups. I still have my good information. Maybe I lost some recent things, but I have my backups. You might just say like I'm just going to change my passwords, get as much as I can, delete count, whatever it might be, and just move on. Also, if your computer dies, it doesn't just live in your My Pictures or your photo gallery. So just keep that in mind, because a hard drive crash is literally the worst thing ever. And then last but not least, we really want you to enable those or delete old accounts, right? So like I have seen on the Have I Been Pwned? I don't know that website. If you could throw that in the chat, Josh, that'd be great. If you go there, it'll say like, oh yeah, your MySpace password has been breached. Someone else has your MySpace password. Well, I was a much younger person then, and I can assure you I no longer have my top 9. I don't have my song playing in the background. MySpace is no longer. So you want to delete those accounts as soon as you can. If you go to this website, Have I Been Pwned? I don't know. And you just put in your email address, it's going to be like, look at all these places that your password has actually already been accessed. Yuck. And then enable those fraud alerts like we had talked about. Okay, so what does this all mean? If you stay vigilant and you just kind of keep this on in the back of your mind, you're going to take those technical controls like locking, freezing your credit, monitoring your credit score, any of those security controls that we talked about. You're going to have all that in place, but also you're just going to be more aware of the world around you. So then you just kind of keep tabs on what's going on in your digital life. So if you do those two things, you're going to be in great shape, right? You drastically reduce your risk by having technical controls and your self-monitoring. We always say in cybersecurity, our humans are our biggest, what's that called? Our humans are our biggest, what is that? They're our biggest asset. Our humans are our biggest asset, but they're also our largest vulnerability. So if we can put technical controls in place that protect our staff and also train our staff to do the right things, then we're ultimately reducing our risk. And if you talk to cybersecurity people, they love talking about risk. All right, so here are your 3 takeaways. If you do nothing else, do these things. Freeze your credit for yourself, your family, your parents, your kids, whatever it is. Make sure you have MFA on everything, and then start managing your passwords. Get that password manager, start checking your passwords to see if they're duplicated in your iOS and in your Android phone. In those password managers, it'll tell you if you have redundant passwords or repeated passwords, so you can tackle those first. So you don't have to like look through every account and be like, is this the same? Is this not? So definitely start doing that. So that's your homework. That's just a quote. And then this is me. That's all of it. And we have 5 whole minutes left. So if anyone has any questions or you want me to clarify or you want to talk about the podcast, it's so fun. You can do that.